Hello, it's the King for Mayor here, or the King is not funny, or Ken the King, whatever you want to call me. And I just came from seeing The Man of Steel, the new Superman movie, and mixed feelings about it. Start off with the good part of the movie was the animation. The 3D animation, or what they used to call back in the day special effects, in the film were phenomenal. Whoever did the special effects for the new Superman movie should get an Academy Award, because it was the best I've ever seen. It did have some hiccups though, when it would go from like the live action actors into like the animated actors. They didn't mesh very well, and like there would be like this like brief moment where like they would get all like Gumby-fied, like, I'm Gumby, now I'm an animated person, now I'm a real person, So that was a little distracting, but fortunately, like those parts were like less than half of a second long. So unless you are trained at looking at that sort of thing, you probably won't even notice. Normal people probably wouldn't even pick up on that. Now, the worst part is the first half of the movie is incredibly boring, like bored to death. Like I was half thinking about going and getting my money back. That's how slow and boring the first half of the movie is, and it's just not very good at all. It's almost like the movie was made by like two different people. They had like one person working from the end credits and one person from the opening credits, and they were like meeting somewhere in the middle. A very, very bizarre pacing for the film. It was very bizarre, and it seemed like almost like they padded it too. Like they had filmed all this stuff for the trailer that they wanted to use in the movie, but there was just no place for it or something, and so they like did all these like crazy flashbacks, and like sometimes it was hard to tell if it was like current time or if it was a flashback or what was happening, in what like just disjointed. Like, did Quentin Tarantino make this movie? Because it's like, or that other guy who did Lost Highway and Blue Moon and those movies. Blanking on his name. Eraserhead guy. Like it was really like the non-linear storytelling was like that. Like it was like an art house flick, kind of like they were like the first half of the movie felt like an art house flick that was done by like students, and then like the second hour of the film, way too long too. By the way, 2 hours, like at least half an hour too long, maybe an hour too long. I'm not sure, but like the first half of the movie, I didn't like it. It was like an art house flick. Second half of the movie was like a Hollywood film. It was like Michael Bay did the second half, and Ed Wood did the first half. It was just, it was weird. And like at the halfway point of the movie, like after I had been sitting in my seat for like 45 minutes, I was so bored I actually walked out of the film. Like, I walked out of the film and I was like sitting outside the door to the theater debating whether I should ask for my money back because I was that bored with the first half of the movie. And then I was like, no, I'll just go get some chips. And, you know, I went and got some nachos. And then, like, I came back and sat down. And, like, missed nothing. Like, they were still having the same conversation that was completely unnecessary for the film. And so, like, an intermission, feel free to take one. Like, right when he gets to, like, his mom's house, as an adult in, like, the real time, which, whatever that is, you'll know when you get there. After the Lois Lane scene, and then as soon as he shows up at his mom's house, that's, like, great time to go out and get a snack. You're not going to miss anything. So yeah. Now, there's another part to this movie that I'm kind of ambivalent about, and I haven't decided yet whether I like it or hate it. That's ambivalent, right? I either like it or I hate it, but I don't know which. It's like you know, it's like somebody stabbing you with a knife while having sex with you. It's like, it's good and bad at the same time, I guess. And if you're into that thing, maybe this movie is for you. So, the script was, I saw it in 3D too, by the way, and I didn't recycle my glasses because they're styling. And I want to go cross-eyed by wearing them and not looking at 3D stuff. So the script was so bizarre. Like, this is not your typical Superman movie. So if you've seen Superman movies in the past and didn't like them, this movie is for you. It really is. Like, because it basically just takes Superman and throws it out the window. You know what it's like? It's like this. It's like somebody got hired by the studio to write a script for Superman, but had no idea who Superman was at all, like, in any way. Like, like, dun, 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 dun. Like, they didn't even, oh, that's another thing, too. They didn't have, I know I'm getting tangential here, but they didn't have the John Williams soundtrack. So, right there, you know it's a completely new experience. I love that Superman theme. They didn't play that at all. I kept waiting for it. It didn't happen. But anyway, so it's like the studio went and hired somebody to write a Superman script, and that person that they hired had no idea who Superman was. They just were like, okay, boss, who the hell is Superman? Let me check online. Oh no, the computer doesn't work. I can't Google who Superman is. Okay, let me just go outside of the movie studio, and the next person who walks by, I'll just grab them randomly and be like, excuse me, do you know who Superman is? And, like, then that person telling the writer who Superman is off the top of their head, be like, just like you walk up to a random person, be like, tell me everything you know about Superman. And then that person just started saying things, and then you accepted that as, like, what Superman was. And then, so you took this, like, secondhand version of Superman that somebody told you, like, random person told you on the street, and then you took that and you wrote a script based on that information. You know, like, oh, okay, there's Superman, and he's, like, an alien from Krypton, and there's Lois Lane, who's a reporter, and, like, he's raised on a farm, and, like, that's all you fucking knew. Like, that's all you knew about Superman. And then you decided to write a script based on that information. Oh, he's really strong and he can fly. Okay, so you write a script based on all that information. Then you take that script that you wrote based on that, like, very limited information, and then sent it to Japan to get it translated into Japanese. Okay, and then took that translated Japanese script, brought it back to the United States, and translated it again back into English, and then took that translated from Japanese back into English script, and then just kind of like rewrote a new script based off of that script. Then you would have the script for Man of Steel. Like, that's how, like, completely off the wall this was from Superman. Like, this movie didn't even have to have Superman in it. Like, the Man of Steel Superman title, like Clark Kent, you didn't need to use any of those names or anything. You could just put in, like, random names for these people and just make a movie about it, and nobody would know that it was the Superman story. Like, nobody would have any clue that you ripped off Superman. Like, nobody would have any idea. They'd be like, oh, look at this unique and original story somebody wrote. You know? Nobody would go, hey, wait a second, that's Superman. Nobody would do that, because it so was, but it was at the same time. At the same time, it was like this echo shadow thing of Superman, you know, like Bizarro. Like, it was like Bizarro Superman, you know, like the alternate dimension Superman. It was insane, but there were some good things that came out of that, and this is where I get ambivalent. Because I didn't like the story, but on the other hand, it wasn't cheesy. Like, that's one thing I'll give this movie. At no point was, I shouldn't say cheesy, because it was cheesy, but at no point was it, I guess the bar of suspension of disbelief for the way people acted in the film was more believable. Like, there's things in the Superman stories where you're like, oh, come on, that person would never be that dumb. Oh, why don't they, why wouldn't the military do this? Or, why didn't Lex Luthor, and Lex Luthor wasn't in, I'm just using it as an example where you say, oh, well, why did Lex Luthor do that? That's stupid. He's supposed to be brilliant. Why did he do that dumb thing? Like, there was no point in the movie where you say those words. Like, everybody in the movie responded to situations as real people would respond to situations, and that was great. That I loved about the Superman movie, that it made sense, and it screwed up aliens flying through space and landing on Earth. Like, as far as that could be, it made sense. But it was just such a mess. Like, the directing was a mess in this film. The actors, God bless them, I can tell they're not bad actors. I can tell that the way the actors are acting in this movie, they're not trying to do a bad job of acting. They're really not. I can see them just getting pushed through the material by the director. Just like, I can, it's like watching the film, I could hear the director in the background saying, shut up and just read the fucking line, alright? We're not paying you to be smart and think about the script. You're a meat puppet. Stand on your mark and say your lines, and let's all go out for a drink and call it a day. Like, it really was. I don't know if they did more than one take on most of the stuff that they did in this film. There's a couple points where I think it's Lawrence Fishburne plays Perry White. Well, that's weird. Is that his name, Perry White, the editor of the paper? Okay, well, anyway, so Lawrence Fishburne playing Perry White, and also, who was the other one who did it a lot? The Kevin Costner, who was playing Jonathan Kent, the Superman's father. There was points where, like, I was watching the film and I could literally see their eyes moving like they were reading cue cards. Yes, like, I could see them reading cue cards, and I could see, like, in the editing, and maybe this is just because I watch a lot of movies and I made movies that I can pick up on this stuff, but there was times where I could see where they would, like, cut away, because they messed up their lines, and, like, or they were just, it was just too obvious that they were reading the cue cards. They had to, like, cut away to another shot, because the cutaways didn't make sense. It was, like, that's part of the problem. It's, like, the editing wasn't, like, conscious choices, like, tell a story. It was, like, covering up mistakes they made, you know? The very, I guess, traditional sense of the word of editing, you know? But it's been 100 years since we developed that technique. Maybe we could do a little better with our millions of dollars. They must have spent all the money on the animation. That's the only thing that I can think of was, yeah. So, man, I know it's getting kind of ranty. Like I said, it wasn't a bad movie. It really wasn't. But it was at the same time. And, like, there's these parts where, okay, I'm just going to say at this point from now on, it's 17 minutes in. If you're still watching, spoiler alert, I think I've given you enough information without spoiling anything so that you can go out and decide whether you want to see this movie or not. So from this point on, it's for people who have seen the movie already or have decided not to, because I'm going to start spoiling stuff now. So, the Krypton, man. I'm not even going to get into Krypton. Just forget Krypton. Like, okay, like, I just didn't see the relationship between the movie version and the comic book version. But like I said, that stuff's all out the window. The things that bothered me, I think, about, you know, it was one of those, they did have some WTF moments. And most of those were with the character of Superman. And which is what the movie's about, right? Although I think he got less screen time. Like, I think his portion of screen time was small compared to, like, the overall film. It was more about the stuff that happens around Superman, more than Superman himself. But, like, there was this big battle at the end, and all this stuff is happening, and buildings blowing up, and blah, 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 blah. And there's, like, people all around him are dying. And, like, they make this whole thing about how Superman, you know, wants to save everybody. He doesn't, like, want to waste a single precious human life or let anybody die or suffer or any of this. And he's going to save everybody on the whole planet. That is, unless he's, like, making out or crying, or, like, having a conversation, you know, like, oh, yeah, sure, there might be, like, 150,000 people trapped in rubble all around you, still alive, that you could, like, pick out of that rubble, like, really easily, like, you know, there's all these people trying to, like, dig people out of the rubble, and they got the thing, and they're trying to open the rubble up and on the steel beams and Superman's just like sitting there like, oh, my daddy, you know, it's like, dude, get out there and help somebody, please, like, you know, oh, Lois Lane, oh, yeah, there may be people dying, but whatever, you know. Like, oh, and when he gets like mad at the guy and like destroys this guy's like $100,000 truck, he just like sticks lumber through it and like crumples it up, and it's like, dude, you're Superman. You're not supposed to like get mad and like do hundreds of thousands of dollars of property damage. Like, even if you are mad at the guy, it's still like, what's your excuse? Oh, he's got insurance, so it's no big deal, like, how are they not going to pay out on that, yeah, Superman was, it's like he forgot who he was, like, on occasion. Krypton was a cool place, let me tell you. Don't think it belonged in this movie, really. It was a plot device. What do they call those things? Grunchausens or whatever? Anyway, so let's see. Anything else that I want to say? Yeah. First half of the film sucked. Sucked this. Oh yeah, that's right. The last thing I'm going to say is this. This is the last thing. I could tell that they wanted to do a remake of Superman 2. That's what this movie seems like it was intended to be, was a remake of Superman 2. But they had changed so much stuff about the story of Superman that they couldn't do Superman 2 unless they also did Superman 1. So they had to do Superman 1 in order to do the part that they wanted, which was Superman 2. And unfortunately, their version of Superman 1 sucked. Donkey balls. Like I said, it was like two completely different movies, and it was like they made it's like they made like a half version of Superman 1 and a half version of Superman 2, and I think the reason why they did that is this is what my theory, and this is just my imagination, but I think they made like both movies, like they were making The Hobbit, and they made like The Hobbit in like multiple parts. I think they did Superman 1 and they made Superman 2 as two separate movies. And then they like watched Superman 1 and they were like, this sucks. Like, this really sucks. And if we put this out first, nobody's going to go and see Superman 2, which is really awesome. It's like, oh, we made this really fantastic movie and this really crappy movie, and unfortunately the crappy movie happens before the good movie, and so they like crammed them together, so they like, it forces you to watch this first movie where you're just like, kill me, this is so awful. But like, because, I mean, that would make sense because of, like, the flashbacks. It's like, the parts where he's having the flashback, it's like the flashbacks are of, the first movie. I don't know. It's fucked up. That's all I gotta say. So, Superman, Man of Steel, I don't know. I really don't. I sat there in the theater for 2 hours. The credits rolled. I couldn't wait to get out of there. And not because I had to pee or anything, because I took a break in the middle and I peed and got nachos and everything. And I just couldn't wait for the movie to end. Even when I was enjoying it, like even when I was enjoying the second half of the movie, which was really good, the first part was so bad Like, I couldn't stop thinking about how bad it was while I was watching the good part. And I just, it's like I needed to know, I needed to get to those end credits to decide if I liked it or not. And I still don't know. I still don't know if I like this movie. So, I don't know. Tell me what you thought of the movie if you saw it. So, am I crazy? I don't know. You tell me. Did I like it? I don't know if I liked it or not. Anyway, King from Air.